All right. Today, I want to talk to you about the trap that quietly kills most podcasts before they ever even start. Now, let me tell you, it's not a lack of charisma, it's not a lack of talent. It is skipping the order of operations. So, today we're talking about roots, digging down deep before reach, and how to stop going for the glit and glam mentality and to begin to work on the things that actually matter. Let me tell you why this is important. If we don't get a foundation laid and get some roots and get some grounding kind of set from the beginning, we are going to have trouble later on. Think of this as like foundational. And I've been in construction and for 10 years, so I understand the basics of concrete and foundations and all of that different stuff. Funny, one of my first inspections as a manager, the wind blew the night before, and there was a bunch of trash in the footings. And I meet the inspector first thing in the morning, didn't check my footings, and I got massively embarrassed because he just looked at me and said, "Your footings failed. I'm out. Scheduled for tomorrow." And the concrete guys are like, "Man, what is wrong with you?" Right? So needless to say, if you got trash in the foundation, you got foundation problems, you're not going to notice it at the beginning. You're going to notice it later on when things begin to get off track. And so that's the main thing that I want to save you from is let's start right from the beginning. Let's get on track. Let's get massive amount of clarity. Let's understand where we're going, because 3, 6, 9 months from now, you could be totally far away from your original objective and not even know it. And what often happens during that time, there's a couple different things that happen. One is people just give up and quit. So if they didn't get foundation set, they didn't get it right from the beginning, get massive clarity at the start. As they go along, 3 to 6 months, they're totally off target. They didn't clarify where they're going. They feel like they're going nowhere. And so they look at where they thought they should be or where they want to go, and they look at where they are, and the gap is too far, so they just throw it aside. Now, this happens with any endeavor. If you're starting a business, you're launching a course, launching a book, anything that has to do with launching, if you don't get some things pretty clear from the beginning, 3 to 6 months down the road, you're going to be so far off course. Okay, that's one problem. The other reason why that you're going to want to solve this is because, yes, there's course correction along the way, and we are going to course correct throughout our whole journey. My brand has constantly morphed into a future vision of myself that I see and what it's becoming, and it's kind of evolved and changed over time. And so, yes, there is a bit of course correction that you're going to have along the way. But a course correction is not a complete 90 degree. And that is, if you didn't get the avatar right at the beginning and 90 days in, you realize it, then 180 days in, you realize it. When you start picking different messages and different avatars, you're not course correcting. You are doing a whole new course. Okay. It's kind of like launching a brand or a product and start talking to this certain person. And then 90 days in, you start talking to a different person. And then another 90 days in, you start talking to a different person. And all of a sudden, you're just scatterbrained. Okay. This is going to save you from that. It's also going to save you from the problem that I had, which was, I don't know why this happened to me, but it happened. And what it was I had the avatar of somebody in my past who I lost due to an overdose. And I had that kind of mental frame in my mind. And every time that I spoke, I was kind of speaking to that avatar. And I didn't know it, but I go along 3, 6 months later, and I don't understand why I'm getting these certain people that are gravitating to me, and they are in the most dire, desperate situations. And not that that is wrong, but when it comes to building a business and creating cash flow and influence and all that different stuff, it's not going to come from people who are broke, destitute, disgusted, and want to end their life. Okay. A ministry can come from that, but not a business. And so I was attracting all of these people and wondering why that I couldn't make money. And it was because the mental image of the avatar of who I was talking to was far off from anything that was going to produce business results inside of my life. Okay. Those kind of people will not take action. And so what I want to save you from is making sure that you're not talking to the wrong person subconsciously. We don't do these things consciously. We do these things subconsciously. And you can tell by the sound of who I'm talking to now that I'm not talking to any person that's off my avatar. I'm talking to the person who is launching something, building something, podcast, book, whatever, business. And they're at this kind of beginning stage and they're getting ready to take action. You can hear it exactly in my messaging who I'm talking to, right? And that has come crafted over time and highly, highly focused, okay? So let's dive in. Long introduction. Welcome to 10X Podcasting. I'm your host. All right, so immediately we have a choice in fork in the roads. At the beginning, we can try to flex, and that is kind of like the go big or go home mentality. And that is kind of attached to pretending. So when I first got into the side hustle, and I've been trying to do side hustles for a long time, this is what actually led to this. 20 years ago or so, I opened a magazine, and it was an entrepreneurship magazine. I had an interest in business, working in construction and building homes, and my heart is inclined to do something on the side. Open the magazine, see this thing for sales self-defense products, and I'm thinking, I really like self-defense products. And it was a whole system and process where they build the website for you and all these different things. And then they coach you in selling and stuff like that. And so I started touring and go to the gun shows on the weekend. And there was one weekend I made like $3,000 to $4,000. And so I started touring these gun shows. Sometimes it was good. Sometimes it was bad. Sometimes it was like, whoo, we made so much money. And then other times it was like breaking even. At any rate, the reason why I bring this up is because the main mode and method of communication was to pretend, act big. It was during that time was a fake it till you make it culture. And I wouldn't lead you down that path as a coach. I wouldn't lead you down the path to fake it until you make it. I would actually lead you down a different path, which I'm talking about here today. Because I've went down the fake it till you make it path in entrepreneurship and that path. And then when I first started podcasting, I went to the fake it till you make it sort of path. And then I've seen multiple different coaches try to fake it until they make it. And then I've seen them muscle and pay their way to the top only to fall flat and waste a lot of money. So all of these scenarios, I'm just trying to save you. Fake it till you make it is not good advice. Anybody who is asking you to pretend, to put on a front, and to flex when it's not really real, I wouldn't give their advice much credibility. Okay? Now, we have to decide at the very beginning, are we going to be the kind of person that fakes it and puts on a show and a front? Or are we going to be the kind of person that builds something real and goes down deep? I say that because immediately when you get into this space, you're going to be exposed to all the fakery. I was exposed to all the fakery. Okay. And the clients and the people that I were running with at the time were exposed to all the fakery also. And so I've learned through hardship and pain what happens when you try to muscle your way to the top or try to fake your way to the top. And none of those good. One is going to empty your bank account. do all of these other things instead of building the thing that matters and trying to pay your way to the top is going to end with you with an empty bank account and giving up. The fake your way to the top, it's going to lead to a lot of problems. Let's go into some of the problems. So as you start to show up online, there are going to get people that offer you the fast track. And that is here. We can blow up your Facebook account with targeted followers. And so behind the scenes, they have a network of people who all comment on people's posts. I mean, they could have like thousands upon thousands. I see the people still doing this today is they got thousands upon thousands of people that are engagement pools that boost people's content by engagement. And this guarantees, they say that it's going to increase your influence in your network, but what it also guarantees is thousands upon thousands of people that are not your target audience are the main consumers of your content. Now, they say the upside is that it goes to some people outside of that. And it does. But here's the reality when you leave those pools is now that your content goes out to these thousands and thousands of people and they're no longer engaging with your content. So all the people that your content went to, it now falls flat. And then all of a sudden everything begins to sink and to fall apart. Okay. That's one example. Let me give you another example. I've done this one myself. It was painful. Now, during the Instagram, there was like, here, you can buy followers. And a lot of people do this. In fact, still today, people are still buying followers. And here's how you could tell is that on their Instagram account, they have massive amount of followers. I'm talking about thousands upon thousands. And then you look at their content and the engagement is somewhere between 100 and 200. It's very, very low percent range that comes through. And also the people that are engaging with their content, or you look on their friends list and they all have weird names. That's a damn giveaway. It's like none of them look like your normal, none of them look like your next door neighbor, right? They all look like something different, third world. Whatever. I'm not trying to knock on people. I'm just saying they don't look like your next door neighbor. They look like somebody else. Dead giveaway. But anyway, so I pay for this Instagram boost. That's the way they describe it. Instagram boost. And I boost my content. And I get the followers that they promised. All right. So I went from, I think I had 3,000 genuine followers at the time. And these are people that throughout the span of time have liked my content. I was getting 100 to 200 reactions per post. And it was actually pretty good for the ratio of which I had. Okay. They boost my thing. I get 25,000 followers and wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. They move on. I got what I paid for. And then I put my content out there. And all of a sudden, the genuine 200 people are absolutely completely gone. I have reactions, a couple of reactions here and there from my new followers that are probably some sort of fake bots. And then they come back around and say, do you want to improve your engagement on your posts? Well, of course I do, because I just bought your service and it absolutely positively ruined my results. Of course I want help with boosting my, it's a scam. It took me months and months to remove all of these people from my Instagram accounts. And I left with the lesson. You cannot fake it to make it. It's not going to work. I'll give you another story. Okay. When I launched the podcast 8 years ago, you'll get hit up inside of the DMs by some dude who has MD in front of his name. MD something, MD something. They are Apple iTunes promoters, and we're going to promote your podcast and we're going to get you thousands and thousands of downloads. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pay $300 and these guys are going to give me massive results. This sounds cool. Let's do it, man. And so I did it. 10,000 downloads a month. And I'm like, wow, these guys are really amazing, man. This is really cool. And so, yeah, I pay him again. Next month, 10,000. Okay, okay. Third month, I'll pay him again. Third month, 10,000. I'm like, when I do the math in my head, is if I if I reach 10,000 people the first month, I imagine that I would have a retention rate of something, even a sucky person, right? So I was like, man, even if I suck, I should have a retention rate of 25%. Maybe I should have a retention rate of 50%. That means from the first promotion of that podcast, I should be somewhere between 12,500 and 1,500 the second month based upon retention standards. And every month, I'm just getting the 10. I feel like I should have retained something month to month. And by this time, I should be at 20,000 if it were legit. And of course, it's not legit. Okay. What they have is people in Sri Lanka, and I've seen these sweatshops, they're called click shops. And they literally have thousands of phones all across the wall. So it's a very small room. And you got this person with thousands and thousands of phones all across the wall. And they're just doing their click farm stuff. Now they've gotten a little more sophisticated. They have big computers with multiple different Apple IDs and bots, and they're able to do all of this different stuff. It's all garbage. So I say this because the temptation at the beginning to look for quick results in vanity metrics, like this should not be the defining factor on whether you show up to the world and you deliver your message. And they're all going to lead you off track. So roots before reach. Before you even begin to focus on the numbers, the influence and impact, get solid with your messaging, with who you are, and about the progress you are making and who you are becoming. And don't fall for the fakery. Now, I'm amazed, absolutely amazed, that a lot of the people whom accounts that we look up to and the followers and everything that they have was all paid for. And it is all for the show. And it is all fake. Even some of the big ones, you'd be surprised. I know from privy information, when I first came into the scene, that a lot of what you see is not real. It's just not real. It's fake. Even some of the music on top of the charts and the list, fake. They've paid their way to the top through these click farms. The books that you see often on top of the charts, it's not real. It all comes from a system of fakery and facade. It's just the reality. So roots before reach. And that is, I'm going to focus on myself, my growth journey. I'm going to focus on the progress that I'm going to make. I'm going to focus on the season that I'm in. You're in a launch season. If I'm talking to you, you're getting ready to launch something. You're getting ready to write that book, do that course, launch the podcast. You're in launch season. That is the season that you're in. You're not in big flex mode. Look at all the results that I'm getting season. Your main thing is proof of concept, is to get a small amount of people to buy into what you're doing, okay? Not to try to look impressive. All right, be rooted before you focus on reach. If not, so if you don't get rooted and you focus on reach initially, you are going to either fake it till you make it, buy your way to the top, and or if you don't do that, you are going to look at the results and you're going to live in the gap. Okay. If you're familiar with the gap and the gain, you're going to look at the results that you currently have and base it upon the results that you think you should have, or where you want to get to, and the gap is going to be too wide. And what is going to happen is that you're just going to give up. Okay. So we have to focus on the process. Whatever it is that you're building, that it's this whole content machine. This is a system, a machine, and process that is starting and it's getting rolling and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger over a span of length of time. And that is, think about this. If the first year you 10x what normal people do, right? And that is, normal people get, 30 to 60 downloads a podcast. If you're pulling 600 per podcast by the end of the first year, you are like, are doing 10 times what the norm is. All right. That's just the amazing results. That's the kind of results we can get you, by the way. But look at it as kind of a year over year. Am I growing? Am I increasing? Is my audience getting bigger? Am I expanding? This is not a get rich quick. This is not all at once. See, the whole build it and they will come mentality has set us up for false expectations. It has. And it doesn't matter what you are building. Now, let me give you some psychology, okay? I love giving psychology. Some inner scoop of what's going on. With the build it and they will come mentality, we focus far more on the product. And it doesn't matter what it is. The book, the course, the podcast, the clothing line, the product we're pitching, the service, and our mindset is centered totally around the product. And I'm here to tell you that's really the wrong focus. Your focus isn't so much going about the product, it is about the people and the problem and the pain that they're experiencing, right? So here's what happens when we focus on the build it and they will come mentality, is that if I create this book, that all these people are going to buy it. That's if you build it, they will come. If I create this book, I'm going to show up and people are going to buy it. If I create this course, people are going to show up and they're going to buy it. Like the other 50% is just automatic. This is what is in a lot of people's head, right? And maybe they look at other people and they don't see the results behind it, right? But if you go to a book publisher, it's not about the book. It's never about the book. I mean, you can have reach and influence and have thousands and thousands on your email list and the ability to influence others. That's what it's about. People show up with the ideas and books and courses, they're a dime a dozen. What they're looking for is the man behind the book. That's what matters, right? They're looking at you. Do you have the ability? Do you have the credibility? See, they're in it to sell books. They're not in it to foster your dream or your book idea or whatever it is. Like, it's a dime a dozen. Like, dude, there's so many authors out there. It's like, what they're asking for is, can you sell a book? Can you sell books? Because they want to make money. And so they're interested in you as a person. Do you have credibility? Do you have influence? And do you have sway? And with that, do you have an audience? This is where many people get it wrong. Is that I'm going to think that I'm going to create this amazing book and that people are just going to flood into it even though I don't have any audience. And so this is why I'm taking you through this process, because it's starting at foundation one. Build your audience, build your tribe, create your tribe. And I don't know any better way to create a tribe and to gain influence than podcasting. I don't know it. If there was, I would go ahead and go that route. But even if I had to start over all from the beginning, from today, I would do the exact same thing over again, minus all the stupid stuff that I talked to you about. And I would do the same thing over, the same process, the same system, right? Because it is your network that becomes your net worth. It is your connections. It is your tribe. It is the people that you surround yourself with. That is what has the ability to make money. And this is where the podcast comes in, because your podcast is a network generating machine. I mean, you can constantly look at people who are above you in the social scale, and you can begin to reach up into the next level and then have them, through by association and connection and contacts, pull you up to their level. Now, the reason why I am where I am today is because I've constantly made contacts with new people that brought me into a new circle. The key is circle expansion. Okay? Circle expansion. Slowly but surely. Now, I launched a podcast with the guy a year ago, and we got his podcast up and running. And then we were working his social media, and we got him connected to one person. Okay? One person during this 6-month time. That's it. Just one person. And through his podcast and through the social media, got him connected to this one person. This one person does one of the biggest conferences in the United States for that specific thing. I mean, they're the top of the top. And underneath them is a network of all kinds of businesses. I'm talking about thousands upon thousands of businesses. He launched a podcast with us, got connected with him, built over this period of time trust factor, and has become a sponsor for the event and a main speaker of that event, and access into a whole new circle that has opened up to thousands and thousands of contractors. We're talking about $1 million upon $1 million play. Like, I don't know actually how much this is worth, but if you take one company and they access the capital and they're at $12 million and you flip them to $24 million and you sell and you get a piece of that pie. So what I'm talking about here is exponential growth. Just that one thing is going to make him millions and millions of dollars. One. Imagine if he got 3 more just from 4 connections. He could become a multimillionaire. 4 connections, multimillionaire. I think he's already a multimillionaire, but 4 more connections and he multimillionaire. This is what I'm talking about. It's not all at once. It's not the vanity metrics. It is the lifestyle. It is the connections. It is the partnerships. It is those things moving forward. Okay. So growth is going to be slow and compounding. Okay. This is the way it's going to work. So I want you to think of maybe a kid playing piano. All right. I never really got into the piano. I tried it a couple times. I'm more of a guitar and drums sort of guy, which I don't know why the drums didn't correlate to piano, because it's kind of like a progression type instrument. But anyways, a kid playing piano, and their notes are messy. All right. They don't really know anything. They're like, twinkle, twinkle, little star, right? This is about where they come from, right? And so what they're going to learn initially is like notes. They're going to learn scales. They're going to learn positioning, like all of these different things, right? And they don't need to think about being some elite level pianist. And they also don't need the same script that they're currently working from. They're starting out at a much smaller level. And what it is the reps that happen here is what gets you to the next level. There's no amount of desiring to be at the next level when you're not, or pretending like you're at the next level. I'm going to be as like a little kid, and I'm going to pretend that I'm the best pianist in the world. So no amount of show, fluff, or fakery is going to make them the best pianist in the world. Okay? It's only going to happen through reps. And that is consistent actions day in, day out. We can't skip the awkward beginning, the fumbling around. Now, I've worked with all kinds of different people. And I've worked with people that have exited their companies and made millions. And let me tell you that this knows no social class. It doesn't. I was like, man, this guy who exited a company and made millions and millions of dollars would show up and kill this podcast. No, showed up insecure, put out content that he particularly didn't like, and all these different things, and then quit, because this is a whole new ball game. This is like a kid learning how to play the piano. And if you don't allow the messy beginning and allow yourself the imperfectness of the way it happens, it's very imperfect at the beginning. And I know we as adults, we want to skip the awkward stuff and we want to be amazing on day one. I'm laughing because something just came into my memory. I was working with a client, and And she goes, I don't work with many women, but she goes, basically, I wanna be like Joe Rogan. I was like, whoa. Now, there's nothing particularly wrong with aspiring to be Joe Rogan. And that is the sense like your future self as a very successful podcaster and able to make money just on talking, like absolutely akin to that. In fact, if you listen to the other episodes, I recommend that you set your expectations and you set it super, super high. Now, there's nothing wrong with the expectation. The expectation is coming out the gates. I'm gonna tell you, you are absolutely nothing like Joe Rogan. I've been doing this for 8 years, and I can tell you, I am absolutely nothing like Joe Rogan, right? But we have to start somewhere, and we have to do the reps in all of these different things if we're going to be successful, okay? We have to start at the beginning and we have to kind of flesh this thing out. So, what kills podcasts before they even start or at the very beginning is thinking that you're going to come out the gates and you're going to be this superstar. The same way writing a book thinking that you're going to be on the top seller list when you don't have the influence in the network. Okay? So here's the two extremes. Is that we got all tree and no roots. All fluff and for the show. That's what I call it. Doing it for the show. And we know biblically, if you're a Christian, you know the Pharisees, they were number one for doing it for the show. And that is, it didn't matter what was on the inside. What only mattered was the outside. And Jesus said they were whitewashed tombs. They look beautiful on the outside, but inside, they got all kinds of problems, right? And we don't want to be the kind of person that is all tree and no root. All right. The next one is all root and no tree. Now, a lot of people that I work with, they fall under this category, and that is that all root means that they know who they are. They know the message that they bring to the world. They've had companies and success. They have practices and they've helped people, whether they were chiropractors or doctors and or financial coaches, and that they have a lot of root. I mean, they have a track record of success, man. They have helped people, but they don't have any tree. And that is, they've done all of this stuff kind of underground, if you will. And that is maybe with a local network or within a brick and mortar place. And they have no tree in the sense of something sprouting up on social media and gaining ground and getting fruit. Okay. So the all tree, no root. That is, they want an audience. They want influence. They want credibility. They want the invites. They want the stage. This is all like tree stuff. Okay. But they're obsessing on all the stuff beneath the surface, the root level stuff. Okay. And that is instead of focusing on the core message and who they are and what they're becoming, they're obsessing on things that don't really matter. They really don't. And that is the logo, the mic, the studio. Like most people that I work with that want to start out with the most expert quality podcast, they are going to have the most trouble getting started because they are trying to go from 0 to 10 without the beginning stages. And that is the credibility of your voice and showing up weekly and being consistent and getting into a rhythm and habits. They want to immediately go to 10 mode, and that is to have the most polished podcast possible. So they're obsessing over the externals and all of these different things instead of fixing the main thing. Now, when I first started in business, my coach hit home on this, is because what we do is that we have a tendency to do stuff that don't really matter. And that is in launch phase, there is a lot of things that don't matter. The funnels, the websites, the email sequences. It's not that they don't matter. They just don't matter in that season. And you could spend all of your time building the structure and all of this different stuff and build it all and have crickets and have nobody show up and give up. That's the build it before you come mentality. right? Is that you can have all of that stuff and still have nothing. This is what people, is my website tweaked right? Is that right? Is this right? Do I have this in place and that in place? And they have the most beautiful system. They have the website. They have the program. They have the CRM. They have this, that, and the other thing. And they don't have any clients. They're focused on the wrong thing. Of course, they give up. I would give up too. I've built all this thing and nobody's coming. And that's a sad thing. And it's a sad thing in the coaching world too, because these people, they teach you how to coach, right? Man, if I could just learn how to coach. And so you go through a 9-month coaching program. I've been through it. I get it. I understand. And you go through the coaching program to become a coach and you get certified. And they had one little tiny section about how to present yourself to the world. And all the rest was techniques and how-tos and services and processes and how to carry a client from transformation from A to B. And all of it's good, that part. But they give you a certification after the 9 months and they say, go get them, boy. So what do I do now? How exactly am I going to get a client? So we go to Facebook, different stuff, and we slap a certified coach on there, and still nobody's coming. Darn. And the reason why I bring this up is because I've seen it. I've been in the coaching spaces. I've had people as clients from those coaching spaces, and they got the certification. They got all this different stuff and nothing. And all the focus was building the machine and whatever, the service. And you never gave any idea to client attraction, to marketing. You see, businesses don't fail, or books don't fail, courses don't fail because the content isn't good. It fails because people don't know how to create influence and drive people to that product. That's why it fails. Okay? That's why most fail. And so focusing on what's important. We major on the minors, and that is there is a time for refining. Don't get me wrong. It's not in my personality to do it. And if you are like me, then you need somebody in your life that's going to help you refine things. I launch strategy, beginning, momentum, kind of like energizer, put this thing into the world kind of guy, and refine as you go. And let me tell you that there's a lot more benefit to taking action and refining along the way than there is this ever-ending refining process that have never actually fleshed out any tangible clients or anything, and never built their systems and processes around real people. They've built it around imaginary people, about imaginary product that absolutely nobody has gone through, and they have absolutely no credibility to anything whatsoever. Okay. And that is, we go through refining, and we never launch. You need to take massive action. Let me explain to you what this is like. This is like trying to steer a parked car. Okay. You cannot refine something that is not moving, okay? You can't steer a sinking ship. No matter how much you're beautifying the ship or whatever it is, the growth of your podcast and your business and everything is correlated to the problems that you solve and getting people to buy into the problems that you solve and solving their problems, rinse and repeat, okay? It doesn't come through the beautification of the ship. Now, for my refiner people out there, I get it. The thing needs to look pretty eventually. So move, take massive action, schedule periods of refinements. Every 90 days, refine. That is not tweak to the point of total reorganization. That is refining, making things look better as you're moving and going. Begin to steer the direction that you want to go, incorporate in periods of refining. But don't let your thing die by over refining and perfectionism. It's not going to get you the results that you're looking for, okay? The person that is in perfection mode and nothing is ever perfect is either never going to publish, never going to get out there, and never going to actually plant anything. That means that there's going to be stalled growth and visibility because you can't get much growth from seeds that are never planted, okay? Your words, your life, your vision, all of that stuff needs to be spoken repeatedly over and over again for those seeds to take root and for it to be a reality. Okay. So there'll be no momentum. Basically, what you have is a basement genius. You're in the lab and you're refining, but you're never actually moving or executing. And I guess if you're going to be a basement genius, then you better become a supervillain or something. Okay, so the podcast, the tree, the metaphor grows. It grows in public. The tree is in public. It's tested by weather, consistently showing up, feedback, refining of the content. It gets pruned. Like I'm not implying that, I am implying that you build the ship or build the plane on the fly. I am implying momentum, move forward, take action. I am implying that. But I'm not implying that there is not a refinement or a pruning process. But here's the reality that if you move, there is something to refine and it will strengthen over time if you stay rooted. Okay. Now, the roots is your competence. That is who you can help, who you can really help, the problem that you actually solve in this world. And the receipts are the proof of those outcomes. Now, this is the reason why you start here. If you're trying to build momentum and buy-in, people don't get on board sinking ships. They don't get on board trains that go nowhere. Here, let me take this road to nowhere, please. Where do I sign up for the road to nowhere? Can you punch my ticket to the road to nowhere? No, said nobody ever. Or if it's going straight to hell, can you punch my ticket and take me straight to hell? Said nobody ever, right? Nobody goes on board sinking ships. And so you have to be momentum. You got to have buy-in. So the most important thing at the beginning is the competence that you have. Are you competent? And that is, can you help somebody? And can you begin to communicate who it is that you help? That's your competence. That's the root. And then the receipts are the proof of those outcomes that you, because you have actually helped somebody, you can show and prove those outcomes. The reason why people look to me to launch their podcast is because I've launched hundreds. Okay. Now, when it started out, I didn't go out into the world like I've launched hundreds of podcasts and pretend like I've launched 100 podcasts and come through as an expert in none of those different things. I didn't do none of that. It started with a group of people inside of my network who I got results for myself and they wanted the same results. So first I got competent with me and I got the results. And then for a small group of people that trusted and depend upon me, I got them results also, and then it expanded from there. The most important thing that you could do is understand your competence, who you can help, and to begin to help those people and get the confidence and receipts. That is the proof of outcomes. You can actually do what you say you could do. All right. Another thing inside of the roots is your character. This is the integrity when nobody claps. This is, I'm not going to go with fakery, quick fix sort of things. And lastly, in the root is consistency, that I have planted seeds long enough that people trust me. Something is beginning to form and take shape. Now, when it comes to growth stages, let me give you a little bit of psychology behind this. The psychology is the seed, of course, is the germination, is the idea, is the planting. I'm planting seed right now. And that it goes into the ground and it needs to be nurtured and developed. That is the kind of nurturing sequence, you showing up week in and week out, nurturing sequence for that seed. And then it begins to get the right environment at the right moment that it needs to sprout and to come alive. And then it goes through different stages, right? Jesus described these as the stalk and the ear and the full ear, and then the ability to reproduce thereafter. And so it's important to look at our life in a according to nature growth fashion. And that is when the seed form of the idea is planted within you and it begins to grow and sprout. That's when you start launching. That's when you start stepping out and doing different things. And so after the seed is the life of the podcast, the life of the book, the life of the course, whatever it is. And then it goes through a very weak period before it gets a stock. rock, and that is like some backbone instability, that it's a little, it's a little weak and wobbly. It's a little vulnerable to the different pests that come around to try to get you to stay focused on the mission. Like there's all these different things that come about. And so don't expect the ability to partake of fruit at the stage of reproduction at the end of the growth process when your seed has just come to life. There is a space, time, and a season between the two. The reason why people don't get fruitful and don't get the outcomes that they want is either that they get devoured by something, like a time suck, something pulls their attention somewhere else, or during the weak and vulnerable period that they lose focus and they give up and they quit. Okay? This is the psychology of growth. Now, the tree part of this that I'm talking about is the visibility. It is what you're experiencing here. This is the tree. The tree is that I've done all kinds of years of personal work. This is how I can get on a mic and spit it for 30 to 60 minutes just riffing on this stuff. I didn't wake up at day one and be able to talk like this. This took years and years of experience, personal growth, development to get to where I am today. And what you're seeing is a visible thing of the tree. This is my content. You see the effect on social media, the audience, the authority, all of these different things, but it is a result of the inner work. Okay? So, visibility in itself doesn't create authority. Visibility just reveals what is already there. And that is, if you got some depth and you got some solution to some problems, if you got something going on within you, visibility is just going to bring that to the surface. Now, if you have visibility with no roots, and that is that it's just performative, it's just validation chasing and copying and boasting and pretending, it's just going to collapse. There's nothing fake that is sustainable. It all gets revealed within time. Okay. So deep roots, grounded presence, clear who you help and the results that you're going to be, clear message, you can actually produce the transformation that you promise. Okay. All right. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. I really appreciate this. That your podcast, your book, your launch, whatever it is, that it doesn't need massive tree at the beginning. It needs you to be rooted and grounded in reality and who you are and who you help. Because visibility alone does not create authority. It reveals what is already there. So don't build a tree with no roots, and don't build roots with no tree. Before you hop off, take one small action today. Not a perfect action, but a real action. And that is, who am I inside of my customer's hero's journey? It's their journey. I'm the guide. Have I defined what it is that they want and how I am going to take them there? I'll see you on the next one. Hope you have an awesome weekend.